Hi, how's it in the name of Jesus Christ? How you doing? It's your girl, Cake, Karabo. I hope you're good, I hope you're PG, I hope you're stellar, and I hope you're in a neat little bunch. If you're not, welcome to the party, is that just not the story of our lives? Let me just put some caveats out there. Kindly look out for my captions. They're not always accurate. They sometimes use a small g for God. They are sometimes irreverent. Sometimes it's the wrong word altogether. Misspelled, stuff like that. That's not me. It's auto-generated. And I don't have an incentive to edit them right now, because barely anybody looks at my long-form content. Okay, and then next up, I'm very potentially wearing application makeup. If I am, you'll know. If I'm not, you'll also know. It tends to bounce off and on my face. That's an app. It's I'm not shapeshifting. Okay, and then I have a segment that I just want to get out the way really quickly. I'm only human after all. I'm only human after all. I'm only human after all. Don't take a jab at me, because then that's just really gonna hurt and it's not gonna be okay. Anyway, whatever, it's an empathy segment. The intention is to display that I've got blood in my body. When you prick me, I bleed. When you afflict me, I get afflicted. I don't know if it worked. These days, I just really want to get it out of the way, like, quickly. Anyway, whatever, moving on. That is to display that I'm totally human. Anyway, so today's the 17th of June 2024, but it's actually the 16th because I've hopped over into the next day. And it's been a relatively okay day. Okay, like whatever, it's Sunday. I hate that it's Sunday because I have to, like, I'm even thinking about taking a whole week off exercise just so I can rest. I don't know, like, truly, I don't know, like, yeah, no, angazi. I probably won't. Let's just move on. Okay, yeah, moving right on ahead. Look, guys, you know what? The level of evil all over the show is real, it's alive, and it's astronomical. It's got fangs. Because it's Sunday, I don't want to be long. Also, I am slightly backlogged with something I'm doing in the back end over there, so ideally, I just want my attention focused on that. But anyway, anyhow, y'all, okay, I'm weary, okay? I'm very sick and tired and exhausted of love spells. Korobela, like, sex spells, demons being sent to me in that particular capacity, and the persistence in that regard is... Anyway, whatever, look, I got a very disgusting dream last night, and I just want to discuss something here, alright? I'm a black woman, okay? Clearly. I'm a black woman, and so I've only ever been with black men. And my context is largely black. My cultural upbringing is largely black. My experiences have been largely black. And much of what it is that I complain about is largely from the black community. Do not, however, mistake me, largely speaking, against my people as me imagining that there is no wickedness in other environments or demographics. The crimes of passion that have been committed against my person have happened against me from black people, largely because I'm black, alright? They've happened against me largely precisely because I'm black, but the guard that I have up and the self-protection, the defensiveness essentially that I wear is against just about everybody. I've got a radar, what do you call this, like antenna that bleep at sorry, they bleep at everything and everyone. From the dream that I got a misconstrued, I got an understanding from it that I am presently being misconstrued by some white men or white people, that the solution to my issues would be to start dating white or to go over to white men or whatever. Listen, wickedness is wickedness is wickedness is wickedness, and sorcery is practiced across the board, across all cultures. It is, however, especially poignant and, like, horrifically rife in the black community for a myriad of reasons that I'm not going to get into in this video. It's an African epidemic. It has been largely spurred by ancestral worship alongside poverty, a whole bunch of things. But do not make the mistake of thinking that I do not gauge rightly that everyone can be a total psychopath of a witch across all races. And I got a horrible nightmare from some random stupid white man who did exactly what these random black men that I've been experiencing, wreaking havoc in my life, have been doing. And as grossed out as I am at the black men, I am similarly grossed out by this white dude because he is no different from these intensely wicked charlatans that commit all these atrocities against people. The epidemic of involvement in cults is clearly cross-cultural and has no discriminating flair to it. Listen, okay, recently I watched a video by oh goodness. Sorry, I watched a video by a gentleman by the name by the name of KDB True, but he changed his channel name to All Things Theology, and he was covering, what do you call this, like the indiscretions of, who is this guy, of Passion Java. Yes, he was covering the indiscretions of Passion, it's Passion Java, right? Yeah, that's his name, right? Anyway, he was covering the indiscretions of Passion Java, or Java Passion, whatever. Okay, and one of the things that he showed in that video was of a little wannabe, how can I call it, like you know when you have a protege or whatever, as a leader, like someone that you bring under your wing or whatever to raise them up in your craft, the thing that you're doing, when you are like an excellent musician and you go and you grab a 7-year-old kid and you raise them up in the craft, excellent painter, and you like teach a 5-year-old to be just like you. Yeah, they call them prodigies, right? Or proteges or whatever. Passion Java has a prodigy or a protege, I stand corrected as to how you pronounce that, right? Of some white kid, like some white dude out here following in the footsteps of this nonsensical insanity going on all over Africa, with all of these random buffoons being called daddy, all of these random lackluster prophet wannabe randos being called daddy. They call them daddy. That's exactly what it is. It's literally a sexual perversion. Not only that, it is a direct blasphemy intended, aimed at disregarding comprehensively what Christ said about no one being called dad other than the Father in heaven. Our Father in heaven is the only one that deserves that name, Abba. Do you understand what I'm saying? Don't call nobody Abba other than him, true. And there's this like cultic, feverish movement going on, sweeping Africa away, and it appears now it's taking over the West, where it is that there's all these randos being called daddy, otherwise known as Papa. I spoke about that the other day. Yeah, and there's like a little protege belonging to who is this Passion Java, and it's like some white kid. It's this like 20-something-year-old white kid that observed, listen to this, right? I need to help you understand that sin is it courses through the genome of humanity at all. Whatever your race might be, yes indeed, across different cultures there may be nuances to them, and there may be typicalities, grains that tend to dwell among a certain people group because of generational curses, and also because of what is this, like just cultural norms that are inherited, passed down from forefathers and whatnot. So as a result there might be typicalities across certain cultural groups, right? But sin is sin is sin, and it will rear its ugly head all across the board, likely very generally, however, also taking into consideration cultures. Like, it is written of people in the last days in 2 Timothy 3, their general constitution, the way that they roll in these streets, making like kangaroos, hopping up and down them, kamikaze while they're at it because they're suicidal. Yeah, that they're going to be lovers of self, lovers of money, boastful, proud, etc. I just want to like speak to those first few moral turpitudes, right? Yeah. Love of self and love of money is a cultural ubiquity. Do you understand what I'm saying? It literally has no borders. Don't nobody care. If at all an environment attracts or draws money, if there's a great deal of wealth to be made in a particular ecosystem, oftentimes there's no color to that. People will just flood to it. Like a pyramid scheme, they will allow themselves to be decimated by a fib. Do you understand what I'm saying? So if you love money like no man's business, if you love yourself like no man's business, wherever the money is at, that's where you're going. And in Africa, there is this African wannabe Christianity. It's not really Christianity, I don't know what you want to call it. It's a circus that reared its ugly head. It just popped out from all of the show, where a whole bunch of wannabe pastors, wannabe disciples of the Lord Jesus Christ, upon being frustrated for not getting any parishioners in their churches or whatever, started going to like witch doctors in these streets, like just across the border, across the just hopping over the fence there. A local sangoma was like, I can help you get prophetic powers, I can help you get these kinds of, gifts type thing. And I can also draw people to your church. And so it caught wind. It caught a whole bunch of fire. Like, there are thousands of African and Western, I guess, men and women traveling to Accra, Ghana, to go and see Nana Kwaku Bonsami, because he is apparently the biggest and baddest anointer of false preachers across the world. And he has sent them out like Christ sending disciples to all nations. Yeah, he has sent out false prophets to Africa. And now it appears all nations. He is a prolific, wealthy, likely millionaire, Sangoma, Tenemount equivalent man, really, chilling in Ghana, that people travel all the way to Ghana to basically start mega churches that look like Prophet Lovi's, that look like Passion Javas, that look like Bushiris, that look like TB Joshua's. You get my point. They go to this Kwaku dude and they get these like strange powers, and he has come on the internet, on social media, and made this clear that, yeah, I anoint pastors, I give them powers, I give them prophetic gifts, I help them bring people to their churches, they sign deals and contracts with me. So he's not out here even trying to lie about what he does. He's made it clear that he has given celebrity pastors of this continent of ours, that is Africa, power, allegedly, apparently, to be what it is that they become, like super wealthy and what have you. Okay, very well. So I mean, whether or not it's shoddy and ugly and unseemly, I like to say that witchcraft across the world is practiced by all cultures, but in Africa, it's tactless, it's ugly, impi, it's menacing, it's just dingy. It's got that like dingy, dark, brown, navy blue color. It's just ugly, impi, red, it's got ugly little beads on it. Yeah, there's no glamour in African spirituality. That's what I'm getting at. There is literally absolutely no glamour in witchcraft that comes from Africa. It is the West that has glamorized witchcraft. It is the West that has put it on Hollywood stages. It is the West that has ingrained it in the Grammy Awards. It is the West that has put it in music videos out here, doing little triangular signs around people's eyes, claiming to be part of some esoteric secret society with the Eye of Horus, and looking all cute Egyptian, old school Egyptian, making like Cleopatra. It's the entertainment industry, largely in the West, that has glamorized sorcery. Do you understand what I'm saying? So people are out here in these streets, like, flooding to that very glamorized, cute-looking Christian Louis Vuitton with heel-wearing type witchcraft. It's got a Gucci purse. It's the kind of sorcery that Ajia is wearing Prada. It is literally the devil that is wearing Prada. Western sorcery is made to look good. It's the same power. It's nefarious. It's malevolent. It's diabolical from here to Timbuktu. It's just ugly. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah, but like it's masquerading like an angel of light, the way that the devil tends to be happy to present himself. But in an environment where people are happy to see the menacing, ugly little monstrous, gargoyle seeming odd red man with a pitchfork, in an environment where people are happy to just deal with that, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And in Africa, witchcraft that has awarded people this ill-gotten gain, do you understand what I'm saying? They have not seen it fit, neither considered it necessary to conceal it with glamour. They haven't. Africans, witchcraft is tactless. It's just ugly. Like I said, it's giving brown color, dark brown, navy, maroon, and blacks. Just drab. It's giving drab, ugly, dirty corner of a counter, of a kitchen counter that's got dust on it. It's not sparkling. It's not wearing a Gucci shirt. It is not wearing Fendi shades. It does not care to wear a Burberry coat. It does not smell like Chanel perfume. It just looks stanky. It smells like mpepo. It looks like itigoloshi. It has no cute. It literally is giving no cute. It is oozing absolutely zero swagger. There is no swagger in African spirituality, and Africans don't care. They don't mind. They don't mind. They've been doing it dingy for a minute. I've been saying it. I've been lamenting against the dingy nastiness of African spirituality, which is the reason why I am, frankly, in a grand amount of confusion as to why a lot of people got drawn to it. Like a whole bunch of snobs that I knew on the come up, out here speaking with a twang. Yeah, that's what's good. By Poshong, got all different kinds of elaborate makeup. First ones to take up Mac when it was on the scene. Yeah, I was confused as to why these chickies that I knew, that I used to hang out with, that were such hard-knock snobs. But the Model C, you wanna call it that, allowed themselves to be affiliated to something so dingy, so filthy. Like I said, it's giving browns and blacks and reds. It's giving, you know what I mean? Like, just ugly colors, like, you know, a little bit of a dark green. It's not cute. It's not wearing a diesel jean. It doesn't care. It's got drab for a constitution. And Africans have not cared that that's a thing. What are the roots of Africans not giving a rat's behind about the lack of cute of their spirituality, and therefore inheriting that issue generationally? Is the fact that they come from dirt, from dinge, from blacks, browns, drab, navy. They come from RIP cadaver, kitchen counter has got dust on it. They come from poverty. Africans come from lack. We come from want and desperation to eradicate all that lack, desperation to eradicate all that want, desperation to eradicate essentially all things drab and navy blue. Yeah, please don't be dissing my jacket. It's cute because I'm Christian. Otherwise, under normal circumstances, it's just not giving. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, they come from that, and granted that they come from all that navy blue and gray and drab and black and don't nobody care. It's filthy and it's in a corner, so what? It's not seen the light of day for a minute, so what? It hasn't been washed in a minute, so what? Given that they come from that kind of poverty, and like I said, anything to get out of it, they tend to be a lot less iffy about the seemly nature of this thing that they're getting involved in. They don't care about how beautiful the premises of the witchcraft practice is at. They don't care about how elaborate and how poised it is before men, because historically their ancestors just didn't care. They did everything under heaven in order to escape, to survive. And this otherworldly power, the supernatural power that gave them reprieve from what would be their sorrows of the time, they didn't care that it came with, like, you know, they did not care that they had to go to like rivers and dig out scoop, like that's what's good, like soil and sand and all different kinds of strange grass, and chill there and muddy their faces with it and mess up their garments, lack thereof even, because they love nakedness, with like pig's blood or ram's blood or crocodile blood. Like, they didn't care, and they still don't care to this day, even if they're celebutants, even if they're celebrities, because it's their culture, that's their background, that's where they come from. Witchcraft was a means to survive the excruciating systematic oppression that we were endured under. It was a way to survive poverty that tended to come part and parcel of being black, precisely because of systematic oppression. They tended to be happy to roll around with these ugly, filthy, nasty, unseemly, uncharacteristic of a snob, yet somehow the chick is in their huts of sangomas, chilling on mats on the floor that have not been swept in a minute. This thing hasn't seen a washing machine in a century. Like, you can tell that these premises don't get cleaned. Guyanuga, it stank. Like, it stank in here. It stank in here. Have you seen, like, go and what? Like, personally, my grandmother, when we were on the come up, used to endure us through some strange rituals. By the amazing grace of God, she ultimately got saved later on in her life, but like, not first before, enduring us through strange rituals, and they were always filthy. It was always these murky, muddy waters that they made us bathe in, funny little strange minty scented things that we would take in, inhale them as something that was apparently supposed to like pollute our souls, like cleanse our souls. We were made to like touch filthy animal skins and all different kinds of stuff. All right, the rituals that are done are nasty, and the smells that are involved with them are also quite nasty in a very prolific capacity. Like Guyanuga, in premises of ancestral worship or occult magic that is done in the black community, stank. It stank like animal feces. It stank like something that has not seen, like I said, Omo, Sefnyana, Santing, Seba, Dav, you know, Lux for a minute. It hasn't seen fire and ice spray deodorant in a minute. It has not seen bleach, JS fluid in a minute. Guyanuga, in the premises of occult practitioners in Africa. It's always nasty. And y'all, it don't matter if that occult practitioner is Latoya Mahene or Boiti Tulo. If she has got a practicing premises, that room, that environment where she consults will smell. It will be ugly. It will not be clean. It will be muddied. It will have a general sense of filth in it, even if the rest of her house is pristine. It's just the nature of African occult magic. Gunjalo, Yanuga here. It's that basic. It's inherited. Do you understand? It's a cultural nuance. It lacks tact, and it don't got no fendi. But Western sorcery is glamorized. They have cleaned it up. They ascertain that it is done in these elaborate environments that are seemly to an otherwise very materialistic Western culture. As African culture, we don't have roots in materialism because we lacked such material wealth. And so the sorcery therein is still rudimentary, filthy. It's that basic. But like in those spaces, they draw men and women to the occult with all that glitters, which is not always gold. They draw them with things that shine. Do you understand? Ornate, sparkly things that shine. Things that are pretty, things that are expensive, things that have got a label of Gucci on it. They draw celebrities and all different kinds of politicians and people in spheres of influence that you have probably seen on television with cleanliness. There is a way. Thus saith the Lord in his word through those who write the Holy Writ. There is a way that seems right to a man. And in the end, it leads to destruction. Guys, it's literally that basic, okay? The road to hell, I like that song, yeah, Lauryn Hill. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. There are certain people that would not walk into the premises of an African sangoma, even if it's Boiti Tulom. They would not walk into the premises of an African sangoma, even if it's Gigi Lemaine or Latoya Machene. They would not do it. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because it's dirty, which is the reason why when I came to learn that so many of my former friends were involved in this stuff, all I could think about was, what? There's this like rando dude that walked up at my mom's house when we were in I was in primary school. My older sister was also in primary school. We were still my older sister was in the beginning of high school and I was in primary school. And, this Okie rocked up to cleanse the house because my mom had just moved into it, go Winchester Hills, where we used to stay, all right? She just moved in and she wanted to bless the house or whatever. Girl, all you need to do is pray, all right? Anyway, whatever, right? She wanted to cleanse this environment, and so she invited, ironically, the name of the man had our surname. He was Bab Hlongwane. He invited this Baba Hlongwane, all right? She invited this Baba Hlongwane that I had seen before in the past, like on the come up. He was basically like the local doctor. You know how every family has its own GP that they always insist on going to? But instead of it being a general practitioner, it's our job being a witch doctor. Yeah, we had like a family witch doctor. And this Baba Hlongwane dude, who was not related to us, well, not directly, to some degree he probably was because of his surname. Anyway, whatever. Yeah, he would walk up, guys, and every time that man was over, the house was left smelling for the next 3 days. The stench just would not leave. He would light up stuff. First and foremost, he would roll out his mat in the center of the kitchen / it was like an open plan house, so it was between kitchen ne lounge area, where it was possible for him to just kind of, put his stuff down. And he would just roll out this mat all up in this joint and bring out all of his random stuff and this like thing of his that he's, whipping, horsetail, I don't know what you want to call it. Yeah, he would just sprinkle it all over the house. Like, who's going to clean that stuff? Because when it landed on the walls, you could actually see the brown stains on the walls. Like, my mom would literally have to spend time wiping them down after he's gone. Because she's always been a neat freak, a clean freak. You're not trying to have that stuff stay in your house if you're a clean freak and neat freak, right? Anyway, this Ogie with like this horsetail thing that he's dipped in some strange water with something brown on it. Like I told you, it's giving brown and navy blue. This like occult in Africa. Whip it. Sprinkle it across the household, all right? And then he would start to burn some stuff in his house, saying some stuff, chanting, shoo, whatever he was saying, type setup thing. And largely, when all the stuff was happening, my mom would insist that we stay in the bedroom, and frankly, I didn't mind, okay? I didn't mind. I was actually just looking at my posters of Drew Hill on the wall, and I did not care that there was somebody grunting and chanting in the other room because I did not know any better. Anyway, whatever. So here it is that this dude is here, and then he's burning up the house. The stench is like coming into the bedroom. Every so often he walks into the bedroom, chums, and then gets out, and then I close the door again. So does my older sister close the door, and then he leaves. And despite windows being open all throughout the day, for the next 3 days, it would stank like that. It would smell like that. Lime pepper, shem. Mungo wan pepper na gyautseba from a mile away. I have never personally consulted a sangoma myself. I have never gone to somebody on some gogo nang tuse. Not personally, okay? But I smell that. I can tell when there's like a ritual bola being done anywhere. Because I have smelt it so many times from rituals being done, because of my mom inviting Ubab Hlongwane, and also because of my grandmother in the early stages, just enduring us as through these scents, these smells. Do you understand? It's just gross. Okay, anyway, whatever. That stench never left the house. For 3 days. It would take 3 days. And shortly after the man was gone, not shortly afterwards, my mom would wait for like a day to let it, I guess, take effect or whatever. She would then wipe the walls of the stains that were there because this dude was out just sprinkling some strange funny water on the walls. Giving, I could say it, guys, like, they get that like, it was just giving old and bereft of any cleanliness. My mom was a sophisticated snob lady then. She still is a sophisticated snob lady now. And yet she was out here rolling around with that filthy man. That's what's good. That is African spirituality for you. And Africans as they interact with it. Yeah. These randos out here in these streets do not care that it's filthy, even if in and of themselves they've got, like, walk-in closets, okay? With 7 pairs of Christian Louboutin, like, heels, just gawking at them as they walk in, of, like, different colors. Same make. Those people that have got that kind of lifestyle that is very glamorized, and now it's material, because now we can actually be materially strong as black people. Yeah, still, even with that material wealth, that material gain, they still do not overcome the generational curse of being prepared to take in their stride filthy sorcery. Filthy sorcery is a thing that goes down in Africa. Everybody just accepts it. Even when they become super glamorized. They don't insist, even when they're at the layer or level of Patrice Motsepe, they don't insist that it be made cuter because it's their roots and they don't mind. Because they tell themselves that this is something that is going to happen for 5 seconds. I'm going to be in and out of here 5 seconds, and then it's just going to continue to effect for my future for me. So no magunugi langlandaba. They don't mind going to graves. They don't mind going to mitam or rivers. Dirty folk, guys. Like, I have a thing, okay, about walking barefoot where it's wet. Oh, I can't deal. Angwas, I can't deal. That's why I mean that you would never see me showering at a no, even if it's brand spanking new guhle gunswembu at gym. Like about the Virgin Active, Yako Melrose Arc, you will never see me ever taking a shower at a gym. Not even with flip-flops. I just have a thing. I just have a thing. I would much rather everything let it be done in my own apartment. I have a thing about walking on a man. See, I can't stand it when I was in school on the come up when I would be in the rain, right? Like all up in pre-taxi rank vibes type setup thing, or Nord taxi rank vibes type setup thing, and mistakenly step into like a puddle of water because it's a drizzly day. It's rainy. Ooh, guys, I would be gagging all the way home. Could not wait to take my school shoes off, wash them, and hope that they will dry. Do you understand what I'm saying? Leather shoes that can suck in water and need to basically be left out to dry for hours in a very hot sunny day. I would take the risk of going to school the next day in wet shoes. Wet leather shoes that are going to make my life a living nightmare, make me miserable, make me super cold, give me like a threat of pneumonia. I would much rather go to school with that than let my sneakers chill out in what would have been a puddle of water that my shoes got dunked in. I used to tiptoe around. I could not stand wetness on my feet that I could not account for. Wetness on my feet that I did not put there. It's not water in a tub that I put there, or water in a bucket that I put there, or water on my kitchen floor that I put there. You will never see me walking around barefoot. I find that phenomenon, quite frankly, very, very fascinating by white people. They do it all the time, walk around just barefoot all over the show. I could never do it. I could never do it. I struggle to be barefoot. Do you understand what I'm saying? In waters, in strange waters, I don't understand. Tap establishment thing. But, you know, everybody has their thing. That for me is mine. Yeah. That's my issue. That's my, yeah. So there's no way that I could ever have ever dabbled with sorcery, because they always expect people to just dunk their feet in some murky waters. Always dunk their feet in some rivers, some oceans. Like, aren't you scared of a brain-eating amoeba or cholera? Like, I don't know. Like, some kind of strange pathogen that, never mind that. Just the murk... when you step in that. Ugh, gross. Like, it's just disgusting. There is so much disgustingness that goes down in the kingdom of darkness, and people, batwasang, gotta subjugate themselves to the tyranny of all that grossness, all that athlete's foot tanamount, all that, like, it's not even Virgin Active Gymnasium go Melrose Arc, but like, Gigole Damong, some random damn river. And it's murky, it's muddy, it's littered, it smells like urine sometimes, and they have got to, never mind dunk their feet in that environment to do a ritual, but their whole bodies. Their whole bodies. I bet you Rihanna and Beyonce, upon doing the rituals that they did in order to basically gain the wealth and fame that they did not have to go and dunk their bodies in rivers that could have given them a brain-eating amoeba. They did not have to do that. Because it's Western. That's the thing. There were rituals they did that were likely very disgusting, gross, really, frankly, in the sight of God, they're all disgusting, but they were glamorized in comparison to the ones that go down in these African streets. That's what I'm getting at. It's giving gray, navy blue, strange blacks, you know, yeah, it's just giving funny colors. It's giving, mix them all together and you get brown. Yeah, you know, mixing red and yellow and green together, trying to see what's gonna come out of there in a paint palette because you're being creative, and then you just get this like murky, random, lackluster brown color. Yeah, that's what African spirituality gives you, just a brown. It's whack, but they don't mind. Africans do not mind partaking in whack rituals, filthy, dingy, whack rituals. They don't mind polluting their bodies with goat's blood. They don't mind sitting out in an environment that stank like dried blood that has not been washed immediately. Blood in and of itself has some kind of a smell when it's fresh out of the body, but like if you just leave it there, y'all know, like proper putrefaction for days, it stank. They don't mind sitting in environments where dried up animal blood has just been chilling there for a minute. And then also like the human sacrifice rituals too. African sorcery is tactless. It's ugly. It is ugly. And even some of the most esteemed, elaborate, prolific, opulent randos in these streets out here rolling around with Mercedes-Benzes for vehicles, they don't mind. Insofar as they're in Africa, they don't mind immersing themselves in that. That's why Nana Kwaku Bonsami is so popular in Africa. I have watched a documentary where briefly some of these practices were covered, and just looking around in the periphery, I was like, I could never step there. I could never just set my foot down in those premises. It's gross. It's ugly. Nana Kwaku himself is a wealthy man. He likely lives in a clean house. He has got money, do you understand? Able to hire multiple servants to clean up after him. But like where he goes to practice, it's just the way that it is. It's dirty. It's filthy. And that should be evidence in and of itself that, whoa, this stuff is nasty, all right? Yeah, African sorcery, I like to say that when people join that space, it's like they're entering a competition for fear factor. It's murky, and on top of that, they have to eat strange stuff. It's weird. It's just nasty, right? It's nasty. But all of this nastiness, that's giving brown and green. That's giving nothing but just a bland, drabby, gray color. Yeah, If it can produce coins for days, if it can manufacture a slot machine at a casino that is going to award you your first million, yeah, you need to understand that murky and ugly as it is, brown and drabby as it is, RIP giving as it is, lack of Gucci purse as it has, as just unseemly as it might be, even a woman trying to end up being Beyonce would test it. Even some of the most prolific, elaborate Caucasians from Europe in this world would flood to it, because at the end of the day, the basic fundamental rudimentary issues that dwell inside the human genome are this: we are lovers of pleasure, lovers of money, boastful, proud, etc., blasphemous, etc., all that jazz in the last days. And it is written of us in God's word that the human heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can tell what in the world is going to happen there tomorrow? Yeah, that is what the word of God says. So people are perpetually going to just do a strange thing. They will invent brand spanking new ways to sin. There is no end to what brand spanking new nastiness people can do in these streets. It is what must be comprehended. So granted that there is no end to what wickedness the human race can do, there is also no end to what wickedness people belonging to certain cultures who would under normal circumstances have not affiliated themselves with certain practices can do, if at all these practices promise them money. I'll be back. Okay, I'm back. I was busy doing something back there. Yeah, like I said, it is written in God's word that the human heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can tell what's going on over there, right? Who can tell what's next? Like, basically, there's just no telling what's going to happen with you tomorrow, right? It is predictable that you can only ever do a dingy thing tomorrow and the next day. So therefore, irrespective of your culture, irrespective of where it is that you come from, insofar as your heart can be satiated in all of that wickedness, you are going to gun for it. Now, there are severe barriers to entry in glamorized Western occult power. In these esoteric secret societies that are within the Western ecosystem, they're hard to get into. There are severe barriers to entry. You have to be called there by invitation. Do you understand what I'm saying? You can't just one day get up and be like, I'm going to be a member of the Illuminati. I'm going to be a Rosicrucian. I'm going to be a Freemason. I'm going to dream on, right? You got to be invited. You can't just wake up one day and make a decision that that's going to be you. So granted the barriers to entry and the difficulty to enter into Western pretty occult magic, granted the difficulty to get in, now there are people flooding to Africa, prepared to gain the same power that Western, very gentrified, I shall call it that, yeah, it's gentrified, and it's genteel, gentrified sorcery of Western culture is more seemly and frankly first price for a lot of Western witches, a lot of white people coming from the West. They would much rather go out like that in order to essentially sign their uncomfortable souls to the devil. Yeah, but like with the height of barriers to entry that are there, a lot of them are just turning to these African streets because the results are pretty much similar. The results are the same because it's the same kingdom. A kingdom divided cannot stand. The devil has offered Africans, seeing as we overcame systematic oppression and now it was possible for us to make loads of money, just bucket loads of it. He then also told them the way that he said to Christ in the wilderness, worship me and I will give you the kingdoms of this world. And Africans were like, okay, cool, I'll do it. And the way that they did it was, like I said, it was not out carrying any Gucci purses. It was not trying to wear any MAC makeup. It was not trying to do a face beat on social media, looking all glam fab with some like falsies all up in like this like height. No, it was not trying to be cute. It's giving Hlongwane. It's giving grunting sangoma. It's giving ululating, chanting, grunting, vomiting, spitting in your face sangoma. It's giving vumangenkane. It's giving bepo ew. It's giving matambo. It's giving bones, dead animals. You know, it's giving rivers, crocodiles. It's giving bleach yourself in some river that could give you cholera proper. That's what it's giving. And I'll take my chances with cholera if it's going to give me the career trajectory or path of Beyonce. If I'm going to get there one day, I'll take the river. I'll take it. I will meet you at the river. I will meet you at the river. You will thoroughly go emlanjeni. That's what's good. And deal with all of those worms. Earthworms in your toes. You'll deal with them. Nizozi tata. It's earth. What do you call this? It's a fear factor. African spirituality is fear factor. And now Western culture, Europeans are prepared to experiment with with African spirituality. It's an alternative route that has got far less barriers to entry, and they are experimenting with far more bright-eyed and bushy-tailed excited spiritists that are being given an opportunity now that the Western ones are filled for business. It would be like the tantamount of a doctor graduating from medical school, struggling to get into a Lani hospital where it is that he's going to be treating celebrities and wealthy people of a wealthy suburb. And then the guy ends up at Baragwanath. Then the guy ends up at some like Lesedi. Not Lesedi is a private clinic in Soweto, but you get my point. The guy ends up like a public hospital where it is the Tladi clinic, where it is that he's going to end up treating not celebrities, not high profile clients, but it's a job as a doctor and it does the job. It works. They will dispense antibiotics if you've got an inflammation with bacteria. They will dispense to you medication that essentially deals with whatever it is that is your problem. They will give you anti-inflammatories. They will give you what you need. They will give you birth control pills if at all you are trying to prevent pregnancy. They will give you what you need. I've been treated in a public hospital, a public clinic before, and it cured my flu. It cured my cough. That's what's good. It got rid of the stubborn, chesty cough. It got rid of it. Yeah. However, snake-like queues for days, waiting, yawning, struggling to basically keep myself motivated to stick around in the line, recognizing, however, that I can't leave the line because if I leave, I might just die from this thing that's like stubborn in my chest. I might just like die. So I'm just gonna have to ride this out. I've been in snake-like queues of public institutions. It's that basic. It's not comfortable, but it does the job. It does the job. It gets people cured, even of cancer, hard-knock diseases. People be out here walking out with clean bills of health because they got treated at Bar. They got treated at Helen Joseph. You get my point, right? You catch the drift, but it's a harder route and it's less seemly. And, the waiting area, it doesn't have couches. There are no vending machines in that particular hospital where you can get a bar one chocolate as you wait. Yeah. No such services, but you go get your antibiotics. Yeah, well, these witch doctors in Africa are like doctors and nurses at public hospitals that Western society largely was not subjugated to the tyranny of enduring. It was largely black folk that were always just creating these snake-like queues outside of their huts, outside of their premises, outside of their ecosystems where they out here are practicing, and they barely got paid. They barely got paid, and sometimes they even had to perhaps offer services for mahala, free, altogether, and just healing somebody as a traditional healer because it's your community. You can't be out here just letting some people die. That's what's good. Yeah. But then they started to draw the attention of big guns, of moguls. They started to draw the attention of greedy like no man's business people that were going out of their way to essentially acquire the opulence and the power of men and women chilling in more gentrified secret societies in the West. Men and women that, like, even the ones in Africa, like people like Nelson Mandela, yeah, I'm gonna be that taboo, were not initiated under African spirituality. They were initiated under European secret societies, Freemasonry, all that jazz. Yeah, they get chosen because the dude was to be the president of the country. That's what's good. But how many Africans are going to be earmarked or headhunted like Mandela? How many are going to be headhunted like Thabo Mbeki? How many? Ain't nobody. That's what's good. So we'll try next door. You are literally going to go next door. And there are people who see that these powers that are awarded, the presidents of this world, the celebrities of this world, they literally come from the same source. And so they are prepared. They made themselves prepared to downgrade their standards of delivery, the methods of delivery to get this thing done. They were prepared to downgrade them because it achieved the same result, like antibiotics being dispensed at Baragwanath Hospital versus at Morningside Hospital or at Vilgehevel Hospital. You get my point. Same medication, different hospital, and different waiting period. Probably a lot cheaper, maybe even free for you to get it done, but it achieves the same end goal. A kingdom divided cannot stand. The devil's prerogative mission is one only, okay? He's trying to take mankind to hell. He doesn't care if you walk these streets prior to you going to hell in a whole bunch of Burberry coats. He doesn't care that you've got a motorcade, right? That is behind you when you go just to the mall. He doesn't care that you've got a private jet. He doesn't care that you go to hell having worn on the day of your death some Christian Louboutin heels. He don't care. So therefore, he is prepared to give them to you. He is prepared to give them to you through any means necessary, even through the ugly-looking Sangoma's hut in South Africa. Go deep kloof, phase 3. Lagnuga corner. You will get your Christian Louboutin heels in a way that historically you weren't able to get them. Why? Because historically there were all these barriers to entry because of systematic oppression. Material wealth, on the day that it started to accrue to Africans because of us being set free from systematic oppression, that's when all of a sudden local Sangomas were able to give you a lot. That's when all of a sudden, you see, like the deception is like stark. It's staring at you. It's just staring at you, like as with binoculars and everything. A periscope, like from underneath a submarine and everything. It's staring at you, the deception. The fact that this thing has been available to you, this power, this alleged power, has been available to you even in the days of poverty. Why didn't you overcome the poverty back then through it? It's because the devil waited for a time for black folk to be set free by God from oppression to give them wealth by any means necessary. Like it was everything is all within God's plan, and yet the devil goes on right ahead to give you his own version of the plan, and you're just running with it. Is that basic? So now random occultists are popping up, springing up all over Africa, and for years they have succeeded to give Africans some kind of wealth and opulence. And given that mankind loves money, and given, like I said, the barriers to entry in Western secret societies, white folk got drawn to this alternative method. They got drawn essentially to the equivalent of what would be public hospitals, like a person that has only ever known private medical care. They've always been on medical aid, and then they hit a rough patch, and now they've got bronchitis, they've got pneumonia. I mean, you could choose to die, that's what's good, or you could just make a decision to go and queue like a little monstrosity outside, like Obara. You can just decide to go and queue outside Tladi Clinic, because when you queue in certain places, you don't even queue in the vicinity, in the premises, you queue outside, because that's just how long the queue is. There are chairs getting outside of that particular medical facility, because there aren't, the way that it's just so teeming at the folds with people that need to be seen. They're prepared now to queue outside of Bloody Clinic. They are prepared to do it. They are now prepared to do that which they historically would never have even looked at. We overcome one problem, systematic oppression, racism, all that jazz. Okay, fine, we haven't entirely overcome it. There are still issues of it all across the board. That's always going to be a thing with any sin that's committed. Mankind will always maintain a residual amount of it on the earth. But we certainly do have a lot more liberty to roam our feet, right? As black people on the planet. And we are a lot more entitled to respect than we used to be before. And we can also raise it and get a right. We've got a right to recourse against those who infringe on those benefits we have gained as a result of the decimation of systematic oppression across countries. That's what's good. So it's better. What I'm getting at is that it's better. And with it being as better as it is now, we have got better relations with other races. That's what's good. We are able to commingle in a way that is no longer taboo. And with this commingling, there is now a sharing and exchanging of strange ideas between different cultures, the strange ideas of which involve, I know a brother from another mother from another sister of another dog, and this another dog out here be introducing some snobbish white girl from some suburbious joint to Tladi Clinic, in other words, to a sangoma down the road. Witchcraft has been in all cultures across the ages. However, in Africa, it's ugly. Like I've been saying, it is brown. Do you understand? But in Western culture, they gentrified it, they glamorized it. That's why it's actually being sold to your children through Disney. That's why it's being sold to people through magic shows on Netflix and all that jazz. It's been glamorized by Western culture in a way that in Africa, it hasn't been glamorized. But in spite of it lacking glamour, that's what's good. People have run to it. Why? Because it, like I said, means to an end. It gets the job done. It gets the job done. And so because it gets the job done, there are people across cultures in Western society that have now looked into African spirituality in order to get what they want. Even Beyonce abandoned or ditched her alter ego ya Sasha Fierce for some other African one because they realized the sources of power of these of what it is that they acquire across the world. They're all over the show. They don't realize that they come from the same kingdom. They're all principalities. They are princes of the power. They are under their head Satan, who is the prince of the power of the air. They're principalities. They're fallen angels. And they all emit similar powers. They exude similar powers. They wield similar powers. No matter where it is that they are lodged geographically on the earth, they do the same thing. So it's pointless to run from pillar to post to Africa, trying to gain a different spirit, because they're all the same. However, it's human beings that create barriers to entry to accessing certain spirits. The human beings create echelons. And so the devil, with this cantankerous, tactless, ugly, brown and grey looking sorcery of Africa, he's told white people, you can maintain your snobbishness, your gentrified general disposition, looking up, your nose, snooty on some, I'm not going to go there, ew, gross. You could do that, or you could realize that there is money to be made in this place. And here it's easier to come in. Here it is far easier to get in. So the past couple of years, we have seen a whole bunch of white folk out here proper claiming to be called. Yeah, in South Africa it's happening. Claiming to be called to be Amasangoma. Just rubbish. 24 hours a day. Like, the deception is so in your face. It is so in your face. There's no white person that would have ever come forward claiming to be called by their ancestors. During the days of systematic oppression, they would have considered it bizarre. But now, because of, cultural appropriation, gentrification, mixing of one another, basically diversification. Now, apparently, allegedly, some little white boys and girls are being born with a call to be a Masangom. It's happening in increasing measure in these uncomfortable streets of Africa. That's what's good. White out out here be twasaring as sangomas. They've been doing it all along, but in Western Europe, they were just witches. They were just called witches. They were out here practicing Wicca, or they were clairvoyants or psychics, but now they're sangomas. Same spirit, different manifestations across different cultures, but same exact kingdom. So, therefore, how ugly sorcery is to a Christian is, frankly, uniform. Yeah, to a Christian, it is uniform. Whether or not it has got the flair and the glory of a beautiful kitten heel Yaguchi, or if it's just impe ponje pelele embi enugai in the heart of a South African sangoma, kyafana. Uniformly, it's all disgusting. Uniformly. So the migration over to Africa by a whole bunch of Western people in order to acquire powers to gain money, because that's what they're after. At the end of the day, means to an end, no matter how ugly it is. Yeah, the preparedness of a whole bunch of Western society now to muddy their garments, involving themselves in African spirituality, has now also made them imagine that, granted that there is a concealing of, granted that it is not generally rather expected of them to consult Nana Kwaku Bonsami, that they can deceive perhaps Black African Christians into accommodating them better than what Black African Christians would accommodate Black African unbelievers that keep on wreaking havoc in their lives. We are making war with the kingdom of darkness, not with white people or Black people, but with the kingdom of darkness. And so if you just so happen to be a white person out here making war with a Christian, she will put you in the exact same basket of nastiness as all the people she's been fighting. And seeing as I have been fighting very typically Black people because I'm Black, and my context and my cultural background is Black, do not imagine that because you're a white person that I'm not going to consider you literally violently filthy, just as I consider the rest of them excruciatingly filthy. Everything of this is dark and nefarious. It is all nasty. Despite your skin color, it's just filth, it's vomit. It's the type of stuff that you find in the center of a person's stomach and just release a bile. It's disgusting, all of it, in spite of your race. And so I will have an abhorrence of that wickedness and attach to that person the status of worthlessness the moment I discover they're involved in sorcery. It will not matter that you are white. It will not matter that you are colored or Indian. It won't matter. I've been harassed by a myriad of people with sorcery. However, the grand majority of them have been Black. The first person to tip the domino of the loss of my entire career was an Indian woman at MTN. She used to be my friend. I have been ransacked when I used to I attended a church, Emmanuel Baptist, in Florida, that had a coven running in it. Both pastors were involved in dark black magic. Do you understand what I'm saying? Nele Mahoa, the one pastor was colored, the other pastor was white. The congregation was largely white, and the young adults ministry was largely white. And that's what I used to belong to. I was part of the young adults prayer groups and home cell Bible study, whatnot. And they were operating a coven. They were involved in witchcraft. Nele Mahoa. With every so often the scant Black person here and there, the scant colored person here and there, the scant Indian, but largely it was a white congregation, and they were witches, and they wreaked a handsome amount of havoc in my life. They are the only church that physically persecuted me. All other churches persecuted me by omission. Grace Bible Church was Black, Rhema was diverse, this church was white, and though these two churches, Rhema and Grace, afflicted me by omission, they disregarded my thirst and my hunger, and they were aloof and mean-spirited and full of gossips. But they did not actively participate in a mutiny in my life in a way that made a significant change to my experiences as a Christian among the body of Christ. This church did what John 16 would equate to. From now on, the day is coming when those who kill you will do so thinking they're doing a service to God. They will throw you out the synagogues. They will persecute you and essentially hold a meeting about you, speaking about how it is that you are a reprobate before a congregation of people that are now being spoken to, telling them in a reviling capacity what a worthless person you are, excommunicating you as an innocent Christian before a body of believers, making you therefore like the immoral man written of in, is it 1st or 2nd Corinthians? They did that to me. A Baptist church full of white folk, and they were involved in satanic magic. Mahoa. I don't speak about them that much, however. Why? Because my experiences tend to be influenced, or what my conversation tends to be influenced by my most immediate and my nearest experiences. I spoke about them at the time when they hurt me. It's been years, and I have since then not been encountered with an environment full of white witches. And so I don't speak very much about white witches that afflict me. I don't speak very much about Indian witches that afflict me. I had a former boss who was Indian that afflicted me with sorcery. Another dude that was a senior manager at MTN who was Indian afflicted me with sorcery. This chick that I'm speaking about that used to be my friend at MTN, Indian. Yeah, I spoke about her then, and I barely ever mention them now. Again, why? Because they are not perpetually going back to the drawing board with me, first and foremost, and it was long ago. My conversations are inspired by what is immediately happening in my life. They're biased that way. I don't ubiquitously speak about everything because these here are personal experiences, and so therefore they're going to be at the very uppermost of my mind. And they just so happen to be fueled largely by black folk. It is no, what is this? It is no new bit of information to understand that a person will largely be affiliated with their cultural group pretty much most of their life, in whatever capacity, be it romance, friendship, what do you call this, communal, you will largely tend to affiliate mostly with people that are your race. That's just the way that it is. It's not that you're racist. It is that kunjalo. As a black child in a school, you will likely gravitate towards other black children. It's just the way that we operate as people. And you will likely amass for yourself largely black company as a black person. Unless you are raised, adopted as a black kid by a white family. You are largely going to be encircled around you by black folk. And black folk will also more readily speak to you in public sittings as a black person. And stuff like that. You will largely draw them. So, as a black woman that is single, I am largely fancied by black men. Largely. For the bigger majority, it's black men that find me attractive. And every so often there is the rare, odd, non-black that will be looking at me that way. Because by mere virtue of the sheer numbers of black people that tend to gravitate towards me because I'm black, the stats will therefore also be skewed as to how much sorcery comes from the black demographic. It will largely come from them because they're the majority of those who are looking at me. If, however, I was not black, I would highly unlikely attract this much sorcery from black people, this much sabotage from black people. It's just the way that it is, okay? So therefore, the odd 5 or 10 white people that have got a malevolent heart concerning me, watching my content, with 2 or 3 of them going all the way to the point of using sorcery, they will be a rare occurrence, given that their numbers are already in the minority concerning those who tend to look at me with that kind of eye, those who will fancy me, men who will have a crush on me, likely will be black for the majority of the time. But every so often there will be 5 or 10 white men that think I'm attractive. And among them will then be some idiot that is just like all these other buffoons I've been wreaking havoc in the lives of with all of my speeches. Involved in occult magic, just another little satanic beast. And it is not because he's white, it's because Uyanyanyi Sanje, why are you doing witchcraft? It's disgusting. And it doesn't matter that it's gentrified or comes from some strange other culture, because at the end of the day, like I said, like antibiotics, whether or not you get them from a public clinic or if you get them from a private hospital, bottom line is they do the same job. They do the same job. And I saw a freaking white supremacist, not a white supremacist, sorry, but a white introduced antibiotic. I saw occult magic coming from a white man, and it's oh guys, it's just so typical. It looks so much like all this Passion Java rubbish in Africa. It gave me the chills and the heebie-jeebies of that little Passion Java prodigy or protege or whatever, white boy, that white kid that was out here speaking to Passion Java on some, you're my big papa and I'm the small prophet and what have you. I'm like, shut up, little boy, shut up. Go back to mama. Go back to your mom. Go back to your mom so your mom can retrain you how to be a man. And get out of Africa. Get out of Africa. You know, there is a scene in, what do you call this? In Kill Bill, where it is that Uma Thurman is out here slicing and dicing some people fighting. And then the lights get switched on and she discovers that there's some little boy that looked like he could have been 13 years old or something among the many little soldiers, warriors of Lucy Liu that were trying to kill her. And when she discovers that he's just this like 13-year-old boy, she slices up his sword with her Hantori sword, and then it falls on the ground, and then she takes him and spanks him with her sword, and then tells him to go back to his mama. So I just feel like that boy, What Passion Java, needs to have a Christian that has been making war with this African, feverish, ugly, gray-looking, navy blue-looking spirituality. Just needs to go and grab their sword of the spirit, which is the word of God, instead of slicing them and dicing them the way that they've been slicing and dicing all of these false prophets of Africa. Just grab them and spank them like Uma Thurman after chopping up their little sword that they gained from an African spiritist, from a Nana Kwaku, and they're busy starting a strange thing as white people, and literally inheriting it, seeing as they've noticed black prophets gaining so much money, gaining so much power. They need to just be taken by Christians and whipped and told, go back to your mama. Like, go back to your gentrified world and get out of African spirituality, because it's just going to lead you down some rabbit hole of nastiness. And you're going to do witchcraft and these foul practices. It's all foul across the world, but in Africa, it gets especially tactless. You're now going to muddy yourself, get yourself all grubby as a white boy with all of this African nastiness. Like, go back to your mama. Go back to Europe and consider Christianity. You know, Africans out here lamenting about Christian Judeo principles polluting Africa. Yeah, The Africans are the ones that have got the biggest qualms with Christianity because they feel like it's a white man's religion. Well, seeing as you don't have that problem in Europe with toggling with the ethnicity of Jesus Christ, go back to your mama where you don't have that as an issue. You don't have to first go through those waters. You don't have to first have some apologist explain to you the root and the origin of Jesus, explain to you how in the world it is even that Christianity came to be affiliated with the West and with Europe and with white society. Yeah, you don't have to first fight those waters. As a white person, you don't have to make war with the Europeanness or the lack thereof ethnicity of Jesus. He wasn't even European, and yet there's like a lot of problems in African culture with, like I said, this what they call the white man's religion, because we got evangelized a lot by the colonizer. We did. And so they got like big bones to pick with that. You don't have that problem in Europe. So you've already overcome the first hurdle of unbelief. Naturally, you don't have qualms with the ethnicity of Jesus. And then you go to a place where they are out here picking bones that are historically inaccurate with the God of the universe. You are messing up more than you already are messed up. You've got your own problems. How about you just sit around in your own cocoon of problems and deal with the ones that you have in your backyard? The unbelief in your backyard, the tendency towards underestimating everything across the world in your backyard. Deal with like whatever it is that are the issues that sit in Europe. Deal with them. Don't give yourself African curses over and above the European ones that you got going down. Go back to your mama. Like proper, go back to your mama. But like, they're not trying to go back to their mama because it's a lot harder in their mama's backyard to become wealthy these days, because it is by invitation to become a prolific Satanist that makes all the money on the world that can ever be made. So now they're coming to Africa. Now they're knocking on the doors of Nana Kwaku, Bonsami, and Nana Kwaku is out here awarding some little 22-year-old white boy from Tuscany, Italy. Yeah, that's like it, but what in the world? Lovi's status. They out here awarding some little 25-year-old from the Ukraine the status of Passion Java. Greedy little nincompoop. Little nincompoop. He's like Augustus Gloop. Greedy. You great big greedy nincompoop. Just this big fat greedy nincompoop going to Africa. Do you understand what I'm saying? This nincompoop is going to Africa to gain the wealth that he is struggling to acquire in Europe, because it's so much harder. There are barriers to entry to Satanism in Europe than there are in Africa. Hey, Ebaton, little lesang, take a breather. At the end of the day, it's all the same nasty nincompoopy sorcery. It's all disgusting. It is all disgusting. Gafana. And it tends to also demand the same rabiosh out of its advocates. You are made to partake in the same rituals. And so because of that, you are just as licentious. You are just as disgusting. The dreams are just as disgusting, if not more disgusting. As in, y'all, I don't even know what to do. You know, God helps the world overcome racism largely. And we be out here thinking we can be cool, we can be good now, live with one another, among one another. All the races, ain't no need to be fronting and fretting. And then after we conquer systematic oppression, you bring all these other new sins because now we are all free. Now you gotta find something to oppress. Like you always have to have something to oppress. Now you're oppressing Christians. Like the world is oppressing Christians, right? There's always gonna be somebody to oppress. Like a world, it just evidences that the world can never ever get to a point of perfection apart from Christ. It can never get there. Just when we conquer certain ills, now there's all these other random strange sins where it is that good is called evil. The foundational roots that we had are being undermined. The truth is being disregarded. That which helped us come through even systematic oppression, Jesus, the gospel. Now the entertainment industry is trying to destroy it. The world is trying to disregard the very God that got us through all those historical ills. What in the world? Like we can never be okay. Like y'all need to get that. That's why the world must come to an end. That's why we need the millennial reign of Jesus Christ. It's because y'all just can't say enough. It's written in God's word that like death and Hades, the eye of man is never satisfied. The eye of man is never satisfied. Why can't we all just get along? No, we can't. It appears. We can't. White folk, understand this, okay? If you snap me with sorcery, especially the African kind, I'm gonna have some problems with you. Not because you white, but because you a stanky witch. I don't like witches. I keep saying that over and over again. My mind changes about them the moment I find out that they're into the stuff. I'm bafuni, because they keep on going back to the drawing board, do you understand? They always gaslight people. It is their primary strategy. Do witchcraft, and if somebody suspects you, deny. Deny, deny, deny. I did shorts wearing a little witch hat, pretending to be a witch, speaking like a witch. And one of the shorts, I speak about how it is that the strategy is to deny. They gaslight the living daylights out of the world, and that's why I can't stand them. They stank. I can't stand them because when you try to evangelize them, when you try to snatch them out from that darkness, when you try to make it clear that I know what you did last summer, instead of repenting, deny, make you look crazy, try to put you in a psychiatric hospital and wreak all that havoc in your life. They are life destroyers that like to deny, so I can't stand them. I hate them. I literally cannot stand even the ground that they walk on. The moment I learn that someone is a witch, I write them off almost immediately because it literally can take a good 10 years of them doing everything in their power, going back to the drawing board to prove you wrong, to call you one who is accusing them of things they have not done, and attempt to uproot you from your sanity or sobriety. They will kick you like a can down the road, all the way into obscurity, just because you discovered that they are practicing this stuff. They will do everything in their power to conceal it. So when I meet a witch that I find out has done stuff to me, I write them off because they are highly unlikely going to say, I'm sorry. Yes, I did do it. They don't repent. They don't apologize. They deny. It's why I can't stand them. Other sins, it's easy for people to come out of. Why? Because you were caught cheating on me. Goodness gracious, husband, what are you doing? I did it, I'm sorry. Yeah, because you were caught red-handed on camera. Yeah. They barely ever enter into a shaggy mode where they're like, it wasn't me. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah, lying. You get caught in the middle of it. People find the true information rather, and discover that you have fabricated some facts out here in these stuff or some content in these streets. And seeing as you've been caught red-handed with your hand in the cookie jar, Velcro hand rando, you pilfering thief you. Yeah, proper. You can be like, I'm sorry, I did it. I lied. The same thing with theft. It was here now, and then it's gone. Surveillance footage. I saw your hand, your grubby Velcro hands on my braid. And then the dude is out doing these streets. I'm sorry, I took it. It's so much easier to deal with other sins. Do you understand what I'm saying? Even the Lord says in his word that a broken and a contrite spirit I will not despise. When people get busted with their hands in the cookie jar, a lot of times they say, I'm sorry. Yeah, but witches deny. Why? Because it has an element of anonymity. It has a veil of secrecy. It is clandestine. It is difficult to prove. And for those reasons, they just deny. And that's why I just can't stand them. They have no contriteness. They do not ever get to a point where they're like, I'm sorry, I did do it. You dream about them. You find out what they're doing. They act strangely towards you. They act a fool all up in your midst. And they still deny. Yeah, I did not do it. But the thief out in these streets be like, I'm sorry, Karabo. I took your eraser. I took your ruler in school. Hi there, girl. Oh my goodness. No, I did try to steal your car. Forgive me. It's so much easier to deal with a person that can own up to what they've done. But witches, they sit in a corner guilty, unprepared to come out with the truth of what it is that they did, because they tend to also perform some of the grandest abominations on the left and on the right, literally spreading themselves thin in these streets, precisely because of the veil of anonymity that witchcraft practices them and promises them. Sorcery promises them a veil of anonymity. And so because it promises them a veil of anonymity, and it's, like I said, rough to prove, they will make your life a living nightmare just to dispel you. They will rather try to make you look crazy rather than admit it. That's why it takes a lot to get a witch to a point of conviction and repentance. And the thing that gets them there tends to be conviction by God, very personally. But they wreak a lot of havoc. And never mind the body of Christ, but their victims' lives. A lot. And especially when they come to learn that they've been caught, they then do more sorcery to try and finish the person off that has found them wanting. That's what they do. That's why I want nothing to do with them. Therefore, whether you are black, pink, purple, white, red, or yellow, I could not give a rat's behind. Your nationality, your culture, your race, your ethnicity, I don't care. If you're a witch, ew. I can't stand them. I come from a place or a time of trying with them to no avail. They gaslight everybody. And now I'm dealing with them in the white community. You are proper in the same bucket as these gray and red and browns giving tactless sorcery black people. There is no difference. You are the exact same thing. Do not imagine yourselves any better because you are white. I am also not a racist, and I do not regard race as anything to give anybody better clout over another. So I'm the wrong person to use race in the life of. I am the wrong person to parade yourself as a pink person, imagining that I consider pink better than green. I don't. I am entirely neutral when it comes to race. And so for those reasons, to flail yourself, parade yourself as a white man, thinking that you can somehow look better than black men being nasty. Bottom line is you've been caught with your hands in the cookie jar, bugger. You that Velcro hand bugger now. You are the same as all of them. And I could not give a rat's behind that you just so happen to be Caucasian. You're no different from the random buffoons that harassed me, wreaked a great deal of havoc in my life from my old church by my hoa. I might not talk a lot about them, but that's only because they're from long ago. They're from long ago. But now you're the new random white man out here crushing on a black girl. I'm not flattered. I'd only be flattered if maybe somebody was crushing on me from a vantage point where they find me admirable and standing back on some, oh, I'm scared, I've got guababa, I can't ask her out. But when then you go and you use sorcery on me, I'm sorry, you are no different from these rapists all over the show that I've been lamenting about that just so happen to be black. I cannot stand witchcraft. I cannot stand people who do it. And it is especially because of the fact that they keep on gaslighting people. The rituals you partake in are the exact same. You are no different from Passion Java when you are his little protege white boy kid. Just because you're a white man does not mean that you're going to be better embraced by a person that does not regard race. Maybe other people in these African streets might think that it's worth their while to take you, little sorcerer, in their stride. But bottom line is, ubutagati boy. Witchcraft is witchcraft, boy. Iyanyanyisa yonke across the board. It is disgusting, all of it across the board. Top of that, sin is sin is sin is sin. I'm not out to go and be grabbing a person with a second or with a divorce, trying to make out of me a second wife. That's the status of this man. Udivorcite. He's a divorced man, trying to make out of me a second wife. And I was walking around accommodating him in my dream, and it was extremely sexual. And here's the deal with sorcery. A lot of times when people get inducted into the occult, they have to do all of these strange sex rituals. And men tend to get made to partake in homosexual sexual practices for occult power, for material wealth. In their occult rituals, they have to do these sex rituals. And so they make them lay with men. The thing about sex, if at all you would remember, if at all you are not a virgin, before you had sex, you didn't miss it. However, once you had sex, you felt like you couldn't do without it. When a month, 2, 3 would go by without you having sex, you'd feel like life is falling apart, that you are sexually frustrated, that you are among the scum of the earth. Essentially, it would only take me getting born again to realize the folly of me imagining that I needed sex when I had not had it in 2, 3, 4, 5 months. So I was able to stay away from it. I've been able to stay away from sex now for how long? Congratulations, give me a hand of applause. 13 years and counting. You see, your virginity evidences to you that you can do without sex, because up until the point of breaking your virginity, you don't seem to need it. You don't miss it. Similarly too, with perverse sexual practices. Prior to you partaking in them, you don't need them. You don't need to be having anal sex. You don't need to be partaking in perverse sexual practices. You don't miss it. You don't demand it from women. You don't. As a guy that has never gone out like that before. You don't. Yeah, but just like breaking your virginity, the moment you do it, you will feel like you can't do without it. And so therefore, you are going to now all of a sudden go out there as a straight man, seeing as you've had homosexual sex in a sex ritual in the occult, and start demanding anal sex from women. You are going to start demanding it from girlfriends, from your wife, and she is going to think that maybe you're being kinky or you're being experimental, unbeknownst to herself, that the reason why you now suddenly have this desire is because you were made to do it somewhere else. And in my dream, I was being pursued, harassed, to partake in anal sex with this man, precisely because he had experienced it before and tried to present himself as a straight man, tried to present himself as a sober man. He was to be my husband, and he had made it clear that he demands from me that kind of sex. And I was like, no, I don't do that. It's unnatural. It's not supposed to happen that way. That's not how God planned it to be. That is not supposed to happen in that area of the body at all. Mankind is the one that perverts everything. Do you understand what I'm saying? And this dude was disquieted by my unpreparedness to partake in anal sex. But why was my future husband in my dream? He was my fiance, and we were discussing things of the future that would come. For the life of me, why was my husband trying to negotiate with me on anal sex? Why? First of all, he was a man that was divorced from his wife, trying to take me as a second wife. It was a white man that has been involved in a whole bunch of sorcery in the past, and he was trying to get out of me that kind of sexual practice. And I said no in my dream, and he was disquieted by it. I am aware of the stuff you guys do. The little desire for anal sex that I saw in my dream, it's not rare in the black community. They're all over the show. These dudes that out here allow themselves to get taken in that compromised capacity, and then next thing, they can't leave their girlfriends alone with it. They can't leave their wives alone with it. They cannot let women basically experience normal sex anymore, because they have gone on right ahead to be done on some pretty filthy rituals in the occult, and now they're bringing them home, trying to claim that they got that idea from pornography. They're trying to claim that they watched porn, or that they're just trying to experiment. They're just trying to be sexually liberated. They want to see, experiment with it. Nah, they're not seeing, experimenting. They have done it somewhere before with men, and now they want it with women. Those are the things that you guys subjugate yourself to the tyranny of when you partake in occult magic, and also women. This is the kind of stuff that you have to deal with when all you chase is money, and you are just trying to be with these dudes, these blessers all over the show, that in order for them to get their money, they gotta have this kind of sex in the occult. And the next thing they come to you and they demand it off you, and you think that it's just a kinky thing. No, it is not kinky. It is filthy. It is perverse. It is not to be done. It is a sin in the sight of God. It's sodomy, and it is a sin. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's a sin. But a man in the occult will give himself away with that kind of rubbish, especially if historically he never used to want this stuff. Now he wants it. No, it is not pornography. It's his involvement in the occult and the sex ritual. And I had a dream of some white dude that was trying to take me as a second wife. Same sorcery. It all looks the same. It's always very sexually perverse. It's always very sexually perverse. The dreams are licentious. They are full of erosia. They are full of a sultry message of licentiousness. It's a lot of sex that just is pounding in the dream. A woman that is pure, consecrated in waking life. I'm celibate 13 years. I don't partake in random, fruitless deeds of darkness. I'm not into pornography. I don't masturbate. I don't do strange stuff like that. It does not make sense why I should be getting harassed by such imagery as this. I also don't consume strange content on Netflix to that point. I go out of my way to avoid shows that have sex in them. So for me to be harassed like this in Jeffela, like perpetually, with the psychosis of all of these korobela men, these love spell men, it's weird. That's what it looks like. That's what korobela looks like. So I mean, really, when a white man is out just slapping a woman with korobela, you know that he's been trained by black sorcerers. When a white man is slapping a woman with that kind of korobela, he's been trained by black sorcerers. He's been trained by Africa. He's been trained by these streets. He came and got his powers in Africa, in a black way, in a tactless, ugly hut that stank of impepo, that's brown and grey and navy in color. Has no brightness, no color, it has no Gucci, it has no Fendi. He has been trained, not by Western standards of sorcery, but by African, and all of it was an antibiotic. It did the same thing. It gave him wealth, it gave him money, it gave him what he needed. He's a drunk just like all of them. Coming to my ministry, he's drinking not so much the gospel or the wellspring of life water. Kishibuku to him. I keep complaining that I'm like Yvonne Chaka Chaka. I work hard every day to make them beer in Umkomboti. He's drinking beer every day when he listens to my content, just like the black men. Umkomboti. The roots of his sorcery are African, clearly, because of what it is that I saw in that. That kind of sorcery, that kind of waza, love me, be with me, love me tender, love me sweet type sorcery. Hashem, it's rife. It's coursing through the veins of black men. Black sorcery is rife with korobela. Love coercion spells are richly concentrated in the black community. Ochainwe laya ejartin emkakweni next door. This bugger from Europe has been trained black African sorcery, and all I can say to him with my sword is go back to your mama. Go back to Europe. Go back to what you know. All of this mixing is only going to give you different, over and above the European generational curses that you have. The filthy grains of typicalities and sin that you are working with in Europe. You're just gonna come and bring them in these streets. In the West, in fact, this dude is not European, he's American. I'm aware of it. I'm thoroughly aware that he's an American. It's an American man, but with European roots. It's an American man whose origin is European. He's a Caucasian American man with roots from Europe. That's why I gotta go back to your mama. I am aware of you. I know what you did last summer. Leave me alone. And don't you ever email me ever again. Ever again. I'm aware of what you did. Do not ever write me ever again. I know what you're into. Yes, I'm signing out in Christ's name, guys. I hope you've been edified. Crank K. Peace.